Here we go, car shoot with a difference. Little behind the scenes, which I never ever do behind the scenes. Here's George, thank you George. Never ever do it behind the scenes. There we go. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all those people that have subscribed and posted comments on the channel. I'm sorry I don't get back all the time to answer any of your queries and things like that. Obviously, I put this channel up originally to demystify owning an old classic car like a Ferrari, and to give an insight into how a lot of these cars actually work and how they're put together and how you service them, and hopefully to inspire people maybe to take the plunge and get one, you know, if they're fortunate enough. I mean, sometimes they don't cost more than a normal family car, or they didn't used to, obviously they're dearer now. But there are still other classics to be had for sensible money, old Alphas and things like that, that are still, you know, affordable, but might frighten people because of sorts of maintenance. And over, you know, the years, I've worked on some amazing old classic cars, multi-carburettor, historic cars and things like that. Some of those I can't actually post here because of privacy issues and things like that. But I always get permission from people, and I have been getting permission from certain people to let me show you some of the cars that we've kind of played around with and experienced. And hopefully over the next you know, months, or however long it's going to take, I will try and compile some videos and give some insights into other cars, you know, such as the Koeniggsegg and McLarens and things like that. So sort of more modern cars that people perhaps you know of, but don't know an awful lot about. I'm gonna get some of this. Don't badger him, don't badger him. Give him loads of room. Give him loads of room, don't pass him. Don't pass him. See, I'll let you egg him on.
Pass him or not?
No. Let's stay with him. This is kind of driving them and things like that. So this is not, you know, cruising down the King's Road, revving your engine and all that kind of stuff. This is out on the road, driving them and having fun with them. And sometimes we're in convoy and things like that. So, you know, it's quite interesting. Like I say, many of these cars, you know, we have to be careful when we're filming them and things like that because for obvious reasons. I'm not trying to set out to create a Fast and Furious, crazy looking kind of video. It's going to be a lot more pedestrian, and it's going to be a lot more legal, in inverted commas. So quick, don't you?
That's it, it's gone.
I know, it just eats it up too fast, doesn't it? You need longer roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it demolishes
just eats
over a
tarmac.
mile. Yeah, it's a tarmac muncher. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Clear my side. And from the archive, James Bond stuntman Wing Commander Ken Wallace shows us how he invented slot cars long before anyone else even thought of them. He also gave us a close-up look of the James Bond autogyro Little Nelly, and showed us what happens when you cross an aluminium stepladder with an engine and a couple of rotor blades. At this point he donned his gardening gloves and goggles and decided at the age of 92 it might be a good idea to show us how it actually works. He demonstrates also that it makes a handy leaf blower around his garden when he isn't actually flying in it.
amazing.
And finally, Nigel the Gorilla shows us how, even if you're an ape of fairly average intelligence, you can actually tackle fairly complicated engineering projects. This week he attempts to do a critical bearing service on a miniature gas turbine helicopter engine. Well guys, it's the summer of 2020 and as you know, the whole world has been in lockdown, and Kato hasn't been used this year at all. But as you can see, Kato still looks as fresh as a daisy, engine still looks lovely, it gets used a lot, it's put quite a lot of miles on since I last did that overhaul 5 years ago. We're very fortunate because we bought these cars when they were quite inexpensive. And when I say these cars, of course, we actually splashed out and we thought, well, you know, while they're still affordable, maybe we should get another one. So we have two. Very lucky. Kato is a 3 litre and the other one, called Cavello, is a 3.2, which is the kind of one that's very desirable because it's got the bigger engine, but it doesn't have it, it's transverse mounted as opposed to longitudinal. And the problem with longitudinal, of course, is that when the engine is mounted this way, you know, the cam belt's an absolute pain to get to. It was the early 348, is it 348? Yes, 348 engine, so I'm getting my numbers muddled up. Yeah, 348 engine, so it was the early 348 engine that then later became the 355. So this is transverse mounted, as you can see there. The cars at the moment are in temporary storage outside our house because we're having a garage built, so that's why they're in these funny tents. As you can see here, we're under canvas at the moment. So this car, as you can see, is a totally sort of different look to Kato, which is, Kato is all magnolia inside. This one even has the old Motorola phone there, which is really fun. I think it's Motorola. It says Raycurl on there anyway. Vodafone, it's an old Vodafone. So, and it does spark up every time you start the engine. This car is very low mileage and it's really, really mint condition as well. But it's probably been standing around a bit. It runs fine, we've used it and everything like that. But as you could see from the previous shot, the engine bay is not too pretty. It needs a little bit of sprucing up and made to look nice again. I mean, Kato's engine, when I bought Kato, looked worse than this, far worse than this. So, you know, that's fine. But like I say, we bought the car and we didn't do anything to it. We just bought it and we drove it around a bit and stuff. And we used it occasionally because it's actually, bodywork wise and the upholstery and everything is really, really lovely, and it's a low mileage car. But, you know, in England, leaving a car just sitting around, you get the dreaded oxide on everything. And because we hadn't had a garage built yet, we just said, well, let's leave it. It needs doing anyway. It hasn't really got much worse, to be honest, than it was when we got it. Like I say, interior wise, it really is absolutely lovely, and there isn't a scuff on anything. So here we are with Kato, and as you can see, Kato is a lot more used. The driver's seat, I think, needs to be rebuilt, and so does the passenger seat. The back seats are okay, but the front seat does need a bit of sorting out because it's not torn or anything, but can you see it's misshapen? I mean, that's not how a Ferrari seat's supposed to look. I haven't actually started Kato because of the lockdown and everything, probably in about 4 weeks, which is really naughty. But yeah, it has been dry and not damp. But I thought you might be interested to see how it goes after being sat for a month, over a month. And it probably is over a month actually. So we have power there. So I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to sit here. I won't press the accelerator. As you know, or may not know, it's a Bosch Jetronic fuel injection system, and it's really, really good. Watch this. So just turn the ignition, activate the alarm, won't touch anything, and you hear how quickly it fires up. And there you go, that was no cheating at all. I genuinely promise you that is literally how it starts every single time. Look at the idle there, it's absolutely perfect, it's nice and steady, and that is how your Ferrari should start on a Jetronic system. If it's not running like that, then you have problems, because that is a typical example of a really nicely set up mechanical fuel injection system. Yeah, a lovely system. So there you go, no cheating, I swear to you. That is, you know, probably 5 weeks, although I don't like to admit it, since it was last started. What I usually do when I start it is I actually crank the engine with the fuel pump switched off. And the reason why I do that is just to get the oil pressure up, because I always like to get that oil pressure up if it's been left for a long time before I start it. But for this demonstration I just wanted to show you it going. I mean, it won't hurt it doing it once, you know, but generally that's what I do. I think these cars always sound better under load. I do like the sound of the standard exhaust on it, to be honest, because it's not all exhaust pipe, you know, it's not all trumpety. You hear the engine, but when you're sitting here and you rev the engine, it doesn't sound so good. You know, a sports exhaust sounds more impressive.
Oh, no exhaust.
Just gonna video it.
Quickly.
Something I did do that I thought you might be interested to see is this sort of semi-GTO-esque rally style skid pan effect with the exhaust bandage. I really like that. I think it looks really kind of retro and kind of 80s. Now, I deliberately made it slightly ugly with the rivets because I felt that that was in the style of the kind of sort of rally cars of that era. The exhaust can itself is a very ugly thing anyway on these cars, so I just felt that it just made it look quite cool. And from a distance, I'll show you, it looks quite funky, doesn't it? It looks a bit rally. There you go, I'll try and do a little jib shot of it so you can see it. Anyway, this one's done quite a lot of miles since I last did all of that, all the valves and everything like that. I mean, it was a while ago, wasn't it? 5 years ago. So I really do love this car. I like the fact that it's really economical. Like this one does about over 30 to the gallon easily. 30 miles, that is, not kilometers. So I get 30 miles to the gallon out of it because I've sort of played around with things and got a lot of weight out of it and this, that and the other without affecting it cosmetically at all. As you can see, it's a perfectly standard looking car, but you know, and it sees a lot of use. It sees a hell of a lot of use, except for this year where obviously none of us can go anywhere or do anything. But yeah, so it really is, I think, you know, it's practical. You can get 4 adults in it, and really you can. You've got plenty of room in the back there. I'm 6'3" and I can fit in the back no problem. I'd be quite happy to do, you know, a 3-hour journey in it. So it looks cramped, but it's not. It's really rather nice. Let me just shut this off. Okay, so we're back on this one. I think we've we both had a chat. Em and I have decided that we're gonna do it as a joint project, this one, and just start. I don't know if we're going to colour the cam covers on this one. I think we're going to keep them, just maybe clean them up a bit, not polish them because I think that can look a bit much, but I think we'll just keep this car standard, you know, and obviously clean up, do all of this. But yeah, I think we've decided we're just going to take it all apart, clean it up. We're not going to go concourse with it or anything crazy like that, but we're going to fix a number of little issues that these cars, all of them have. One of the things is that all the injector feeds down here, they always go rusty on this side. So what I've done is I always clean them up and actually put a plastic outer pipe over them to protect them, because for some reason they just get damp through the grill, and it seems to attack this side and not this side for some but I don't know why. Anyway, the other thing is that it's quite interesting to look at. If you look at the other engine, people often ask me, what did I do to, with the engine here? Well, if you look at that, that's actually raw alloy. Okay, so that's actually aluminium. Now I'm going to show you the other engine. Now you have a good old look at that. So that's raw alloy, and that's what raw alloy looks like, okay, on this camera. And this is raw alloy too, incidentally. So it's interesting that they're different colour, aren't they? But that, I promise you, is raw alloy. So now we come to this car. When you look at this one, that looks pretty much... Now, obviously the giveaway is this injector, because it looks painted, doesn't it? But if you look at the alloy itself, though, that looks like raw alloy too, after 5 years. Now the nice thing about it is that I've done everything on this car. I've done all the bell housing, as you saw from previous videos, and all the V-block in there and everything. And in fact, the whole engine, the sump and the whole lot is being painted. Now people often ask me what I've used. I actually used the product, it's called, in England, in the UK, it's called Hammerite. And it is a smooth finish Hammerite, but you can also use the stippled finish Hammerite. And what you do is you get a brush and you don't paint it on. That's what you don't do. You almost just stipple it on. And it looks exactly like aluminium, and it does not rub off. Now, a lot of these high temperature paints proclaim to look like aluminium and stuff like that, but I found the problem is you spray them on and they actually rub off. And I've used them on loads of different cars, this like high temp stuff that they do, and it doesn't work. Good old Hammerite, that's the stuff. It doesn't flake off, it doesn't burn off, it can stand extremely high temperatures, and it looks just like aluminium. And if you prep the surfaces properly, even here, if you prep the surfaces properly, it doesn't look like you've painted it, which would look horrific. It really does look very convincing, and people don't believe it's been painted. I go to car shows and they think it's just been shot blasted, but it hasn't. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.